Long-held health beliefs being debunked over time is really nothing new. For instance, did you know once upon a time obesity was actually considered protective against osteoporosis, largely because bones were thought to become stronger through the increased associated load? Now we know, though, that this isn't the case, partially since with increased body fat also comes an increase in fat cells in the bone marrow, which are said to harm osteoblasts, the cells that form new bones and grow and heal existing ones. But another health myth, still believed to be true by the masses even in this day and age, which may come as a surprise to you, is that we need to drink at least 8 cups of water each day to optimize our overall health. Yet the literature to date suggests otherwise. So today, we'll be getting into it. But first, as always, please take note of our disclaimer. To get started, it's important to point out that we certainly aren't discounting the importance of adequate hydration. Water accounts for about 60% of an adult's body weight. As a result, there are numerous reasons we need to ensure we're getting enough in. Above all, needless to say, is that it keeps us alive, since we can only last a matter of days without it. But ensuring sufficient water levels also prevents dehydration, which can cause unclear thinking and mood changes and lead to body temperature soaring, digestive problems, and kidney stones. What's even more is that it helps your joints out, protects your central nervous system and other sensitive tissues, and helps eliminate waste products. On top of all that, water serves a benefit from a weight loss perspective too for 3 reasons. 1. A lack of water can often be mistaken for hunger by the brain. So by drinking a cup of it around 20 minutes before a meal, you'll be much more likely to make smarter food choices and manage portion sizes better. 2. Water can be a great replacement for high-calorie drinks, an area for opportunity often overlooked when dieting, since their impact can really accumulate over the course of a week. And 3. Because it helps boost your metabolism. When we consume water, we need to bring the temperature of it up to that of our body temperature, a process which costs calories. This is what's known as water-induced thermogenesis, otherwise known as the thermic effect of water. One study showed that drinking 17 ounces of water increases resting metabolism by 10 to 30% for about an hour. Nevertheless, even though the significance of sufficient water intake is without question, research is proposing that the typical recommendations of at least 8 cups of it day by day is. A 2022 study by Yamada et al. Demonstrated that for healthy adults, there is no real benefit for this much. In comparison, Lindemann et al. In 2000 found no indications of dehydration from 227 elderly adults who regularly drank less than 6 cups. As a result, the authors of this study concluded that recommending a water intake that exceeds what a person is comfortable with serves a little useful purpose. Another study investigating whether 8 by 8 was necessary, meaning 8 cups of 8 ounces each, concluded that there's no scientific evidence that we need to have that much, and in fact it could even be harmful both in precipitating potentially dangerous hyponatremia and exposure to pollutants, and also in making many people feel guilty for not drinking enough. Okay, so if there's no backing behind 8 cups of water daily, how is it so pervasive in modern times? Stuckey and Kavaris in 2020 state that this myth actually originated from a misinterpretation of a study conducted by the US Food and Nutrition Board all the way back in 1945. Indeed, the recommendations from the study suggested that people should have 2 litres of water per day, or about 64 ounces, which is the equivalent of 8 cups. As a result, many people took this to mean 8 cups of plain water each day. However, it was actually for total water consumption. In other words, the water we intake from beverages such as coffee or tea were also included in the recommendation. You might have heard that caffeinated drinks like these won't assist with hydration since caffeine is a diuretic. But studies demonstrate that the diuretic effect of these beverages isn't enough to obstruct hydration meaningfully. What's more is that even food counts towards the recommendation too. You mightn't think it, but a considerable amount of the food we eat day to day is made up of water. Here's an example from a 2010 study. In fact, Food consumption is suggested to make up about 1/5 of our daily water intake. Nonetheless, despite the aid of food and beverages in reaching optimal hydration, we still need to prioritize plain water. Another recommendation you might have heard is from the US National Academies of Sciences, Engineering and Medicine, which is even more than 8 cups of water daily. But again, it's made clear that this is for total water consumption, encompassing water we get from beverages and food too. But why is this important anyway? What's the problem with people just having extra, even if 8 cups of plain water might be a bit much? Well, for one, on top of the potential concerns outlined earlier, it makes people's lives more challenging needlessly, having to remember and be strict about consuming water all the time and needing to go to the bathroom frequently, which can be very inconvenient for certain jobs especially. Also, being so centered on forcing water consumption constantly isn't ideal when someone's losing weight either, since there are probably several other habits they're working on simultaneously to facilitate that. Further, suppose they can't keep up with the water intake daily, which is entirely likely in our opinion. In that case, there's a chance they become discouraged and throw weight loss out the window altogether, especially if they're an all or nothing type of person. On a side note, if you're interested in undertaking our evidence-based and results-backed personalised Plato weight management program, please click the link in the top right-hand corner of the video or follow the link in the description. So if 8 cups isn't a reasonable recommendation of how much water you should have, what is? Well, this is really subjective. For instance, people who live in warmer climates will need to drink more due to increased sweating. Similarly, the more overweight someone is, the more they'll need to drink due to higher energy requirements, greater food consumption, and higher metabolic production. Other factors that influence water intake are physical activity levels and health status. But one 2016 study suggests that for the average adult with factors that don't necessitate extra water, drinking according to thirst may be enough for health. I mean, our body should be well tuned in knowing when we need to consume water for health at this stage of natural selection. Still, it's questionable whether waiting until you are thirsty might be a bit overdue. Alternatively, the Mayo Clinic suggests having water around each meal and before, during and after exercise is better, which we agree with. Although, as with anything, there are those with special considerations, so be sure to consult your doctor if you feel you should be drinking more than this. Do you agree with this? What's your thoughts? We'd love to hear from you in the comments section down below. So that is our video. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.